remember that after this presentation, we're going to have a coffee break. Now we're going to have a presentation by Ariel Amue. He's the business development manager of the public sector for Amazon Web Services, one of the cloud service companies of the world. And I want to thank Amazon Retail and Amazon World Services for sponsoring the school for many years, and to all our friends in the US and in the region, Arturo Cabaña, Eric Stephen, Chris Wilson, many friends that have always believed in the school and have supported us and sponsored us. Thank you for being with us. I thought that Ariel was going to be online, so I was surprised to see him face to face. This hybrid conference is surprising us all the time. Welcome, Ariel. Remember that we also have an online audience. Well, good morning. It's such a pleasure to be here. My name is Ariel Amue. I work for Amazon Web Services for the public sector in the South Cone. And today I'm going to talk about the clouds. I was listening to Robert's presentation, so I imagine that the cloud is in all presentations at least mentioned. And what is the cloud? Who feels comfortable saying, I know what the cloud means? That's a good question, right? I was telling Adrian that in '97 I started working for an internet service provider. Now I am in a cloud service provider. And at the time, internet was new, and now we have the new revolution, that is the cloud revolution. So I've been working with technology for many years, and when I started working with Amazon Web Services, I thought that I knew a lot about the cloud, but actually I didn't. So I believe that like an introductory presentation about the cloud is important, and that is the goal of my presentation today. So, what is the cloud or cloud computing? We're going to give a definition about cloud computing. I'm going to read it. It has some highlighted words that are important, because this is what is going to transform the cloud as regards the traditional IT. It is delivery on demand. On demand means if I need it, I use it, and if I don't need it, I don't use it. For example, electricity. If I need electricity, I turn on the light, and if I don't, I turn it off. This is about IT resources. What would be IT resources? Computing, storage, databases. Those are the ones that we know about, but also AI, face recognition, IoT, machine learning, VR, quantum computing, as we were mentioning with Adrian. Those are IT services that I can use on demand. And there's something very interesting. I don't need to pay in advance. And that is a big change as regards traditional technology, because with traditional technology, we invest and we use it. So I don't need to pay in advance. If I use 2 minutes, I'm going to pay for the 2 minutes that I used. I turn it off and I stop paying. So this is going to bring about a huge transformation as regards IT. So, does the cloud physically exist? Or is it something that is there, like in the universe? Does it exist? Yes, it is. It does. We understand this image. This picture is a data center. It has servers, air conditioning units, electricity, connectivity, a lot of things. Imagine this, the size of a football stadium. That is the minimum size of a data center for the cloud. And here we do have 3 football stadiums that are connected in order to offer an availability zone, sometimes 2, 3, 5, depending on the size of that physical location and those data centers. That availability zone is going to be in 3 different places, 3 different locations, not together, but from 60 to 100 kilometers away. And of course, those are going to be connected. So in case of some kind of natural or human disaster, the other one is going to continue working. So we have 3 availability zones, and this is going to create like the cloud region. Look at the size. I'm talking about one region with 9 data centers, the size of a football stadium. How many regions does Amazon Web Services has? 27 regions all over the world, connected through fiber everywhere. The ones that you see in blue are regions that are today working, 3 that are going to be working in the future. These are the figures today. When I started working 3 years ago, those were 70. So we are going to have 21 new availability zones. And also we are going to have expansion because we need to be near the users. So we are going to be adding local regions, which is the size of another football stadium in each of the countries that is going to be connected to the regions. So we have 30 local areas. And if I want to get into the network, I can be in 400 places all over the world, and I'm going to be within this network. Is it physical or not? Everything that has to do with IT, with billions of clients and users using it all the time, software and hardware working at a hyperscale. That's why it is called hyperscale. Which country can have this infrastructure? None. That's why the Great Britain Defense Office gives this to Microsoft Web Services, because they cannot do it by themselves. So, is it clear? I pay what I use in an infrastructure as the one that I described, huge. Am I going to be buying the hardware? No, I'm going to be consuming services that the infrastructure offers. Which kind of services? The ones that I mentioned before. Computing services. Computing means a server. How many servers does a cloud service provider offer? 300 and something when I started working for Amazon, and now more than 500. Computing services options. If I want to use a server, how many do I have to use? 499 was the number yesterday. But with processors, Intel, AMD, Quantic, I could never have all those options in my data center. So to give you an idea, here in each one of the boxes, there's like worlds. Let me tell you about databases. How many options of databases can a company or an organization or a country have? We need some maintenance databases, different databases in the day-to-day work that we do. There are 16 options to choose from for governments, corporations. They pay for what they use, the same as the cloud. And what does this means at the end of the day? First of all, cost reduction, and also innovation speed. How much is it going to take? How much time is it going to take from the idea until the solution is developed for the end users? So let's see a little bit about the cloud prices, costs. First, pay by use, and then also no payment in advance. How much does the cloud cost? I was saying I have many years of experience in technology, and costs and prices are always something that is difficult to talk about in technology because there are different discounts and it's not so clear. But in the cloud, everything is public. And we have a pricing list that is public, and you can see it and compare the Amazon Web Services, Microsoft Azure, and compare the pricing. And this also is different from traditional technology. People use this by the minutes or seconds, and when they stop using it, they stop paying. Is there a specific service for Netflix in AWS? Does AWS offer a specific service for Netflix, which is one of our clients? No. Because the whole infrastructure, the hyperscale infrastructure, cannot have something that is customized for a specific customer. So it's like the supermarkets. You go to the supermarket, you buy the products, for example, eggs and milk, and you prepare a cake, for example. That is the business model that we have in the cloud. Is this clear? The same service that, for example, the Great Britain Intelligence Service is going to be using is the same that government or individual users are going to be using with credit cards and the same infrastructure. So, innovation is not going to be a barrier of entry. Everyone has the same access to the same service and the same pricing, and they can innovate. And that is the paradigm shift that the cloud offered. Are you following me? I believe this is one of the most important messages. And finally, prices can vary. And for a government institution, this is kind of difficult because prices change. And in the AWS history, I'm going to talk specifically about this company because this is the one that I work for. More than 110 times prices were reduced, were lowered. Why? We have never increased prices. Why? Because when you are bigger, you can offer better prices, you have better negotiation possibilities, and lower costs. Those costs are going to be transferred to users who are going to be consuming more. So, prices that we offer today, maybe tomorrow are different, are lower. This is the price structure, pay by use. I mentioned that if I know that I'm going to be using a certain amount of the cloud, if I can forecast that situation, I can say what I'm going to be using, and then I'm going to be paying less because I'm saying how much I'm going to be using. I can even pay 70% less the price of today. And the more that I use, the lower I'm going to pay. If you store it, for example, 1 byte, you are going to spend a certain amount of money. And if you store it, 1 tera, you're going to pay less by units. So this is a comparison with the traditional IT infrastructure. In a data center, I have the infrastructure. This is the different steps in a data center, the capacity, demand. And when I am following this red area is when the system collapses and things won't work because demand is surpassing the offer that the infrastructure can give. We don't want to be here, but this is not ideal either. So the cloud changed all this. Because when you need it, you use it. If you don't need it, you stop using it. If you need it again, you start using it again. So This is automated. And this brings about a 27% decrease. This is cloud computing. It changes capital expenditure by variable costs. It increases the speed that you may need. You don't need to spend money in maintenance, and you can benefit from the economies of scale that internet service providers offer. This is an example. As maybe a government institution, I want to offer an IoT solution. I need devices, I need to handle messages, and I need to have services in my data center for the information flow of the devices. If I want to do it alone, I need a lot of hardware. So I may use everything that is available, and I can start using it, and I can focus on the solution. There are several examples. If I have a sensor and I want, I have authentication service, I have IoT back office. If I want to give information to an operator, I have authenticated users that can control it. So I have like the business logic for the IoT solution, and I only need to think about the solution. I don't need to think about how to implement it. The same with mass devices. If there's a sensor, for example, in a car, and it is sent to an IoT system, through information that I have from multiple sensors, I can apply machine learning, AI, and then forecast some kind of situation. This is solution modeling. And the same if I need to connect systems that are not connected all the time. I have a persistent cloud, and I can do it this way. So this is like my explanation of the cloud computing. We're going to be doing the Q&A at the end of the presentation. Let's talk a little bit about the different myths that exist about the cloud and cloud computing. Let's try with showing our hands to see if the audience is following me. Who believes Brazil is going to be a world champion? We have Brazilian people in the room. Who believe Argentina is going to be the world champion? Who thinks that Germany is going to be world champion? What about France? Okay. The first myth. In AWS, we sometimes hear this when we talk with government organizations. It's not legal to send data to the cloud. Who believe this? Who thinks this is true? Is it legal or not? Data protection policies, we need to think about that. Yes, right. If I have servers here, for example, in Argentina, and data are somewhere in this global infrastructure, the legal system wouldn't know how to find those data. In Argentina, we do have a Personal Data Protection Act, is the 25326. And as Robert was saying, it is in line with the European Personal Data Protection Act. So a transfer of personal data at the beginning in the year 2000, it was illegal, but now it is not. It mentions countries with adequate protection levels. Canada is one of those countries, Uruguay, another one, the European Union as well. And there's a list of countries that are that have this adequate level of protection. But if there's a country that is not in the list, but it has a contract, that is also allowed. We have a specific site for Argentina in AWS that mentions this and talks about all the regions in the world, and also a guideline on how you as a private institution should comply with the Personal Data Protection Act. The Information Technology National Office also has guidelines for public institutions on how they should purchase the cloud services. And it mentions specific things such as availability, answering times, etc. So, busted. This myth was busted. The next one, the cloud can offer opportunities to local IT companies. Is the cloud offering opportunities or not? What do you think? Those who think the answer is yes, please raise your hands. Okay, half and half. So in general, we believe that there are 3-4 cloud services providers in the world, so AWS, Oracle, Microsoft, and they take it all. Actually, there are cloud computing providers that have part of the solution. That is the one that I was showing you. But there's another. There are other providers. There are companies that do requirements analysis, strategy development, design support, security governance. And this is not offered by the cloud computing provider. This is offered by companies that are partners of the cloud service providers, and those are local companies. Let me give you an example. This is the United Kingdom marketplace. The UK buys cloud services, and this is the number 12 release. Look at the number of suppliers as of today. 3,000 providers buying cloud services, and almost 50% are public organizations, and almost 40% are small organizations and agencies. And that is the huge opportunity that we are showing here. It's not like it's only 5 or 6 players. It's many players adding value, including government organizations, offering and developing solutions for other maybe government organizations. So we believe that the cloud offers opportunities for companies. Migration to the cloud. I am in my data center and I want to migrate to the cloud. Is it going to be difficult? Is it going to take a lot of time? Some believe it is. And this is the answer. I know about this and I know how to handle a database, but there are many services that I know how to use. I'm going to give you some examples. AGESIC, Uruguay, for example, the appointments for COVID. In 2 days, the system was working. There were some technical limitations, but they took it to the cloud and they solved it. University de los Lagos, COVID, 11,000 students. In 3 weeks, they were able to solve the e-learning for 11,000 students, and in 3 weeks, they were able to start using it. In the municipality of Cordoba, it took 5 months to change the tax system, and it reduced IT expenditure in 90%. And of course, from hours and days of having no availability of the system, everything started working perfectly. So, of course, it takes time sometimes, but there are different strategies, and there's a lot of experience in the cloud in order to retain, retire systems, to rehost, replatform, repurchase. There are different models that are already implemented. Another myth is that the state or the government cannot acquire cloud services. Why? Because it is variable and it is paid by usage. Who believe this is true? It's not easy. Of course, there are certain details that should be taken into account. So government institution doesn't know how to do it, but today the government agencies are already acquiring cloud services, or they are already acquiring different services, for example, electricity, telecommunications. There are different mechanisms that can be applied. Public tender, for example, doing it by application, open purchasing orders. There are different ways of doing it. So this myth also is busted. And now this is the end of my presentation. I'm open for questions from the audience. A big round of applause for Ariel, please. Thank you. I think that it was very interesting what you were saying about small companies that can work with the cloud infrastructure. What do they need? Thinking that Argentina has a lot of small companies in the industry, what do these companies need to interact with companies such as AWS? Do they need some kind of certification to have some kind of course certification? In traditional technology, there were many requirements in order to sell and offer that technology. In the cloud, what we need is knowledge, because we already have the infrastructure. So in the case of AWS, as well as the other service providers, cloud service providers, the necessary thing is to have people with knowledge. It could be 2 or 15, it doesn't matter, but there's a way that you can follow in the partnering way that what you need is that. So we do have companies in Argentina that develop a solution, and that solution is already available to be implemented by any government organization or agency. And it's a quick way for small companies. I believe that is a model that is perfect for Argentina. You don't need so many requirements, but what you do need is knowledge, know-how. So in AWS, we do have a training program. We have the goal of training 29 million people for 2023. And in Argentina, we have already trained 1 million people with different training courses, sessions, offering some kind of certification courses. And there's a question there from the audience. I'm Lorenzo Martinez from the Dominican Republic. Thanks for your presentation about AWS model. Although the cloud offers great advantages, specifically during the pandemic, the infrastructure and that many companies didn't have in order to move towards the digital model, it was a challenge. So the shared responsibility model, taking into account that the regulations depend on the different countries, how do you offer some kind of support for governments as regards research or sometimes investigations on cybercrime, and how that infrastructure is offered in the cloud and not on premises? That kind of cooperation, how do you handle that? That question has many answers. First of all, we need to think about the shared responsibility model. That is public. In our website, we explain how it works. There's an AWS responsibility that is until we offer the service, data center, physical security, that is depends on us. But then the owner of information, of data, is going to be the customer, the end user. And that depends on how they are going to develop their security strategy for the data. And if you have a computing server or a machine learning platform, that is going to be different. It is a clear model. How do we help governments? First of all, AWS has two business lines, two business units that are totally different. And this is unique in the industry. The public sector depends on the CEO of the company, and the public sector customers are totally different from corporate customers. It's going to be different how I'm going to handle Netflix or the government of a country. So we have like a company that is committed to work with the public sector. So we work hand in hand, helping you with security models so that when you are responsible of the data, you have the security strategies and you can have the disaster recovery or contingency plans whenever there's a problem. And also, we do have mechanisms to understand when there's a problem. Those early warnings are carried out by us so that we can explain you with embedded services in the platform so that you can see if there is some kind of issue or some kind of problem that shouldn't be there. So there's several approaches, and it would be more like a security presentation, but I think that with this I am answering your question. It's a specific unit in AWS. I'm sorry, but I can see with the lights in my face. My question is about data localization. Some governments are interested in data localization. So I believe that it's not something that is very efficient, but it's important for some of the players in the government. So what do you think about the cloud solutions for this specific issue and this situation? Yes, the question has to do with some countries that have data localization within their territory, and the cloud is not designed for that. So what do I believe and how do we solve it? Amazon's goal as a company, I'm talking about Amazon in general, the goal is to be the most customer-oriented company in the world. So that's why we believe that there are public sector customers and we have a specific company for those customers. And we understand that there are many countries that want to do what you're mentioning for different reasons. We can technically discuss if it's good or not, but it's the decision of a customer or a government. So data localization is something that the cloud needs to address. That is the first answer that I'm giving you. How do we do it? First of all, with this new developments like local zones, as I was saying, Argentina is going to have this year a local zone in Argentina. So the data are going to reside in Argentina. For example, if you want it as a government, are you from Brazil? Okay, in Brazil, we do have a specific region, so you do have data localization in Brazil. But for example, in Chile and Argentina, we didn't, and now we are going to offer it this year. Secondly, the cloud, that would be like the public cloud, as I showed. I have part of the information in the data center and part in the public cloud. That is a hybrid cloud. And it offers certain technology solutions and a specific solution that is called Outpost, that those are data center racks that belong to AWS. And it is the same technology that we use in those soccer stadiums or football stadiums that I was showing. It is the same technology. Why? Because we need any solution that we offer to be sent to the data center, and the owner of those hardware is going to be AWS. You are not buying it, the hardware. So you are using the infrastructure in the data center, and that is part of our strategy. We develop a new product offering the whole cloud with the same hardware to your data center so as to serve your data localization requirements. I have a question from the audience online, from Valentina in Italy. How does Amazon is going to be managing the global warming issues in their data center. You know that there are some research that says that if we all connect to internet today with today's technology and carbon emissions, global warming would be dramatic. So I am optimistic and I believe in human ingenuity to solve this problem. So data centers, of course, are carbon emissions, a carbon emission problem, but it's an interesting question, and we all know about the net zero goal and the Paris Agreement. You know, our founder is well known all over the world, Jack Bezos, and he's passionate about what technology can do to help humanity. And he asked companies all over the world to the climate pledge. He said, I'm going to raise my hand and I want companies to join me so that 2050 becomes 2040. Some companies joined him. AWS is going to go to carbon neutrality before 2040. As regards data centers specifically, in 2025, all the energy of Amazon as a company, I'm talking about the .com, the storages, Prime Video, and Amazon Web Services, is going to be 100% renewable. Last year, Amazon was the biggest customer in the world in renewable energy investment. Those are the efforts of the company. And specifically about data center, there's an interesting research that mentions that using a data center is going to be more efficient from the energy point of view than building a data center. As regards the carbon footprint, is going to be more efficient. I don't have the exact numbers. I'm going to give some estimates, but I believe that is between 70 and 80% carbon footprint reduction. If I use a data center that already has renewable energy and water management, at the beginning data centers needed a lot of cooling and it was based on water. So there was a clear impact on nature, on the environment, and today a lot is done with cooling by using electricity. So with renewable energy, we solve that problem. And the new data centers that we are building require the same amount of water that 2 homes use every year. So the AWS data center is going to use the same amount of water that 2 homes use every year. And that is technology and what technology means, and that's why I'm so passionate about it. What this question from this girl in Italy means is that we can do a lot to reduce the carbon footprint, and the company I work for is doing that. I know if you have heard that Amazon.com has a lot of deliveries in the US, and we have bought 100,000 electric vehicles for the deliveries. So the strategy for the environmental impact is quite comprehensive, and I can be talking about it for a long time. Search Climate Pledge, and you're going to see all our strategy as regards energy and environmental impact all over the world. Thank you.